All right, everybody. So I have a new guest for my channel. Some of you who we're not going to talk about the past, but might be surprised that I'm having her on here. But we're buddies now.
Yeah,
And moving forward, this is Laura B. Do you go by Laura B or the real Laura B, or what do you care?
either one is fine.
So I didn't know exactly what we were going to talk about, but I thought that we would start with kind of what you've been talking about this week on some different shows. You met Johnny Depp.
I did. I got very lucky. I'm not sure how I got so lucky, but I did. I attended the trial almost every day and sat there behind his team that was there. They saw me every day. I'm sure I'm a familiar face. He said that he has seen or been shown, I should say. I want to be very clear. My posts lots of times saying, hey, maybe you should check this out. Hey, maybe show this to your team or whatever. So they were aware of who I was. I know I was recognized in the courtroom by people who knew my account. People came up to me. Elaine Braderhoff herself brought up my account in a deposition, not his team. So they're aware of me. So I don't know. I just got lucky. I was in the right place. I went to the DC show. And, I went and said hi to his people that were at the courthouse, and we chatted and stuff. And I think they were going to try and get us a meet, but he was swamped that day. It didn't happen. And I had posted I was going to Vegas, and I got there and I saw some of the same faces, and they were able to make it happen. And I was just so thrilled.
So it was his show. He was performing in Vegas.
Yes, he is performing with Jeff Beck. It's actually Jeff Beck's official tour, and Johnny is on officially as his guest. He wasn't listed originally. I mean, it's been advertised that they were going to promote the album 18 that they did together, but Johnny was still filming, and it wasn't advertised definitively when he would join the tour. And we got lucky, and I can't remember now, so long ago, that he joined. DC was the first one he did. He flew in from France, like he barely had 3 days to get on the stage. So it all worked out. So for me, it was just a fabulous closing of my journey, really, to be able to talk to him and tell him I believed in him, and for him to just grab and hug and kiss and hug and say thank you so very much.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the video that was shown in Popcorn Planet of Andy, and I think some of the video maybe with you too. And you can see that he really genuinely that Depp was really genuinely happy to see you guys. It wasn't like, I mean, I've seen celebrities and they're like sort of a perfunctory, okay, I have to meet this person and pretend like, we're cool and everything. But like you could see on his face and the way he greeted you, and like he really was grateful. Is there anything that kind of jumps out at you that he said or that was interesting about your interaction?
Well, he mentioned, I think our conversation, because he knew where we were coming from, was very geared to his case. And when I say his case, I mean from 2016 forward. As much as Andy and I may have tried to steer the subject away, it was something that he really wanted to talk about, because he knew we had. So I heard someone say, stop bringing up the case. That wasn't the point. He really geared the conversation. He was very sweet. I'm not going to get into specifics. And he did mention the accounts he watched. And he mentioned Colonel Kurtz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to cry
now. I saved that for now. I'm going to cry. So he did say that. And I said, I'm so glad you did that. I said, this is exactly what I said. I said, she's been having a rough time lately. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, she's so good. She's so smart. She's so, how he draws out his words. And he said that about you. And he was appreciative that people who work for justice.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much for telling me that. Thank you so much for telling me that. Well, Johnny, I may not be as smart as I pretend to be.
And strong, and you're so strong.
Come and look at my, Johnny, sometime you want me to open up the books on my personal life. You might have a different impression. No, I'm kidding, but sort of. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Well, so you talked to him about kind of, he wanted to sort of, without getting specifics, review his case and what he'd been through with you?
Well, it was just we talked about a lot of things. We were excited about X-Fenty. We made jokes about, he's funny. He was very, he was just funny, the way he even makes fun of himself. He was signing my shirt, and I was joking about getting a YouTube channel. I'm an old granny. He goes, oh no, I'm the old granny. And I was just, fun stuff. And I didn't want to reveal too much because we had an hour with him, but he's lovely. He's genuine. He's exactly what you expect him to be, warm and caring. And he just sat back to let, and conversed with us, and they got a little worried toward the end. The buses had to leave and he was unbothered. He just wanted to spend time with us. And I never felt rushed out of there, and neither did Andy. He was really kind to give Andy a message. He knew when he was being recorded, and it was sweet.
I think that's really amazing. And I think it is amazing that heartwarming, if I can use that cheesy word, that you did have that time. You all had that time with him, almost as a kind of like like have gone through the war, like battle brothers and sisters, even though you weren't talking to Depp through that, right? But going through kind of like, and you go through that battle and you get those battle scars, and then at the reunion later, like you can all come together and be like, "Wow, we did it."
That was pretty much it. Yeah, we talked about a lot of that. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much.
What about, had you ever met Andy before? Was this your first time?
No, this is my first time meeting Andy and Steph and Kim and all of them. That was great. Obviously I met Jackson Bryant at the court. Trying to think who else. I haven't met Tug.
I was going to say that would have been the only thing that would have made it complete, as if Tug could have been there. Yeah,
Tug popped on my live stream the other day, just real quick. And he himself said that he had been invited, but he just couldn't make it happen. So well, cool.
Life is complicated for sure, but I don't think it was strange at all that you went to the trial. I would have expected that. I was glad that you went and that Brian went, and some of the others. I'm going to the Marilyn Manson trial, so even if they don't televise it, I'm going to be there. So
cool.
If anybody wants to put me up in Los Angeles,
it's really interesting. I was so glad I went.
Yeah, tell me about that. We haven't talked about it. Is there anything?
Yeah, because the difference is when you're in there. Well, there's two differences actually. The good part, when you're in there, you get to see the jury. You get to see a lot of people's reactions behind you, around you, but especially the jury. The bad part was sometimes the sound wasn't very good, because you heard Judge Escarati several times saying, "Please speak into your mic." It seemed like Court TV was able to pick up the sound better on their streaming. I mean, I heard sometimes it wasn't so great, but it was way better than ours sometimes. And
really?
You got to see, because we were behind them. So already if they weren't at the mic, their voice was not toward us. But somehow Court TV, like I remember just the other day, I did a video on the appeals and what they called the proffers, what they were going to be reserving for their appeal objections. And I couldn't hear it very well at all in the courtroom, and I could hear it much better on Court TV or Law and Media, whichever one. So, and I was behind Johnny, so at the back of his head. Amber sometimes catty cornered in her chair, so we weren't getting a lot of reactions until they were in they were testifying themselves.
I kind of a strange, excuse me, kind of a strange question. I don't know if there's really like an answer to it, but I'm just curious, what is it like to be in the room with people, and like actually in the room and seeing them with people that you've been talking about and sort of studying for years?
I know.
Is it?
No, we thought the same thing. At first it was like, oh my God, he's here. She's here. Oh my God. But by the second, I would say even that, I say the second day, not so much the afternoon, because we had to get there early and stuff. They're just people after that.
Yeah.
They're people. They're almost like family. I mean, you care about them as family and friends. You're not caring about them because they're celebrities. You're hearing the stories unfold that you already had researched for so many years. So finally you feel a connection to them. And then there's still new stuff you didn't know that just breaks your heart, or new stuff that just are like, that doesn't measure up with something that we already knew, like
right,
where he's changing or whatever, things like that. And other witnesses that we had never heard from before, positive and negative. But once they're in the room every day with you, you suddenly just all become, I mean, he was allowed to wave to people when he came in and when he left. So was she. There just didn't have to be anybody there.
Yeah.
Like I said,
burn.
Some of his team was sitting right there in front of us. And after a while, we would just kind of, hey, how are you? Lunch break, bathroom break, whatever. They took a break and we would just chat for a few seconds, like he's doing good, or she, So it just, a certain camaraderie to a certain point.
This is kind of a strange question too, but I've read before that when you see Amber Heard in person, that she's just, like the information that House and Habit got, which I don't know if that's true or not, but about, the woman talking about what it's like to meet Amber. And she's like, you're just overwhelmed by how beautiful and everything she is. does she look the same in person, or was there anything about her where you look at her and you're like, oh, that's different than what I expected or whatever?
Well, I tell you what, all of us were saying, honestly, the way she did her makeup and the way her face form is and the lighting in there, she looked like she had those same bruises every day. I mean, if you look at the videos and the photos, you're going to see all those shadows and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's what she looked like to us.
Interesting. That's interesting. Did she seem like, would you look at her if you didn't know who she was and say, wow, that is just a gorgeous woman, or in that light, she was just kind of ordinary?
No, not to me.
Well, I know I know that she wasn't at her best in that, as we talked about in that trial. I'm not sure kind of what's going on with her, but anyway, one thing I wanted to ask you is, I don't know the story of how you just first got on this train and got involved in the Depp case and doing what you've been doing with the documents, collating the documents, putting them online and so forth. So first of all, when Amber Heard came out with her allegations in 2016, what did you think at first?
Well, at first I was like disappointed. Well, first of all, when he was with her, I mean, I hate to even say this, it just seemed to me a typical midlife crisis, it's like, but I didn't follow his personal life as far as I just liked his movies, not necessarily all of them.
Yeah.
So when it came out, I was like, geez, this seems like the same old, we hear about. But then when she made the accusations, I'm like, no, because I have heard about how nice he is on set and how caring. I'm like, this isn't making sense. But things happened so fast that from the moment that she made the claims, then the letter was released to the public about her demanding the condos for her friends to live in for free. I'm like, oh, like I want all of this, or I'm going to accuse you in public. I was like, okay, that's not sitting right. And then the LAPD immediately came out, not once, but twice, saying, hey, we were there. There was no damage or injury. So I was like, whoa, okay, this is like playing out exactly like Gold Digger. This isn't matching up. And then, of course, it came out quickly that she had been arrested. And then the kitchen video came out, which I guess that was the weekend they were finalizing their settlement, I guess.
Okay.
And her deposition. And I guess she assumed that would be the turning point. And it was the opposite for me, because clearly from my vantage point, he did not know she was there. He was upset. He was very upset about something. I can't remember if it had broke about TMG. I don't think it had broken yet. He was clearly upset about something. And it didn't seem like, and it was plural. So it wasn't about her. He was talking about the FMers. He was very upset with something, and she came in and she was standing there and he was still upset. And it wasn't until she spoke and he immediately stopped. So I would think if you're an abuser like that, and as soon as you have that opportunity to lash out, you don't stop and get quiet. And, and then she kept egging on. And then he left, that was the time I would think an abuser would reach out and
Yep.
And of course, it was even worse when we finally saw the whole thing to know that she intentionally. And TMZ said that they showed it the way they got it, so it was intentionally edited. And I think you can see the clock. It's either between 2 and 3 p.m., 2:30, 3:30. You can see the clock on the wall. It's kind of angled a little bit, so I think. But it was not, gee, we just woke up, and it was not drinking in the morning. It was very much. In my mind, when he picked up the open bottle, the glass was clean. It's red wine. Red wine pools to the bottom. And I've looked at videos so many times, and the glass he grabbed was clean. So I'm like, this is not. So so obviously everything went forward, and then there was lawsuits, and there was a lot of reporting being done. And I said, this doesn't make sense. And I happened to be in a forum chat room. And somebody there was also interested in legal side. And we kind of got our heads together and got a document or two and realized that mainstream media was cherry picking things out. Like Johnny Depp did not deny this. And I'm like, in the very first paragraph, he says he denies any and all allegations. Yes, he did deny. Man. So it was like and I was like, oh, this isn't right. And that's what got me started. I started getting the documents. They got a little expensive after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, at first it's $5 here, $10, and you think it's going to end, but these things became so profusive, they just never ended. And that's one of the reasons I did the YouTube channel. Someone, Jackson and I, when we did the podcast, we decided we would do the tip jar, I think it is, on Twitter. And somebody asked, which is limited, they don't have PayPal. And somebody apparently had commented, you have PayPal. And there must be scammers out there that have that wording to pop up for them, like searches. They grabbed my phone, they replicated my account basically and said, oh yeah, here's my PayPal. And it wasn't me.
No.
And I had to shut it down. And I don't think too many were scammed. But then I pulled my tip jar off of Twitter. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I don't want people hurt. And I knew a lot of people were making money off of my content on YouTube, which is fine. I was glad to have it sent out, and I was kind of shy. And afterwards I decided maybe I'll give it a try and memorialize these documents and that I paid for, and maybe I can recoup some of my costs.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I mean, I hope that anybody who's watching, that's one reason to support your channel. And but you do have a tip jar, or you have something where people.
I have both. I have YouTube monetized, and then I have the PayPal link.
Okay. Yeah. And I think people don't understand, like, I mean, I've seen that with the Manson case. I have not collected very many documents. There are mainly other people doing that. Thank God. And I appreciate them. But I didn't realize how expensive documents were until I started trying to get some. And I'm like, wait, this is just one court hearing, and I'm going to be paying $200 for all these documents.
Because what happens too, after a while, is when you get used to it, you're like, man, do I want to buy that 99-page document that I know contains 4 copies of subpoenas that are free on Fairfax? Like, I wish you could peruse it somehow and say, I don't want any of the attachments, for example.
Like, you know what you're getting. Yeah.
If I want to go back for an attachment, I will, but if I don't want to pay for something I'm already getting free in Fairfax. So sometimes it was really hard to make those decisions.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and it was so nice to finally talk. And I do feel like after coming through this trial and everything, I do feel like you are a comrade, whatever happened in the past. I'm glad that you're on board, and I'm on board, and we're on board together. And I wish you well. I know you've had some health challenges, and so I hope people will be thinking of you and praying for you and everything. And
I think this became such an impassioned cause, not just for me, but for so many people. You might be feeling that with Manson. I don't know, that you just feel, that's just it, heightened emotions. And that sometimes you just have to step back and say, okay, we're going to agree to disagree and just keep going. That it's not affecting anybody's outcome here. So.
Right. Totally agree. Well, everybody, see the links below. I'll link to her channel and everything. TheRealLauraB, check it out. And everybody have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks. Laura.